Blake Lively is now asking the courts to silence Justin Baldoni's lawyer. Guess she can't handle all this video evidence. We got Christopher Melcher here to break down what's allowed. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, back with Christopher Melcher. So good to see you, sir. How you doing?
Oh, great to be here. First time on the show in 2025. So miss everyone, and I'm really happy to be back here on the channel.
And I'm glad I heard you're safe from the fires. I'm sending so much love to everybody out there who's been facing the horrors of those fires out in California. My heart goes out to everybody, but I hear California is coming together, which is great. I just wish these three people could all unite and stop fighting, because it seems like the entire world is getting fed up with this entire case. But more and more people are seemingly coming to Justin's side. I know you haven't been following this as closely, but I wanted to bring you into this because the latest just came in, guys. Blake and Ryan are now demanding that Justin's lawyer shut up, as TMZ is reporting. They're out there now trying to get a gag order. Let me get this comment in here. They filed a letter today in court. They asked the court to issue a protective order to stop Baldoni's lawyers, led by Brian Friedman, from engaging in improper conduct, including going on an alleged harassing and retaliatory media campaign against Blake and Ryan. They say he's violating court rules that stop a lawyer from making statements to the press that are irrelevant to a case and might make prejudice the jury. Blake's and Ryan specifically mentioned the release of this unedited footage that we've reported on, which Blake's team claims corroborates to the letter what she described. We're not seeing that, Chris, but that's what now she's claiming. What's frustrating to me, and I know you aren't as up to date, what's frustrating to me is Blake started all this by leaking her Justin's text messages with his PR team, which we're still trying to figure out how she actually got them. Did they actually legally get them the proper way? But basically stole all his text messages, very private exchanges, and then she cropped and took out of context and put them all in this narrative for the New York Times to post that we're learning it wasn't fully honest. So I just find this massively hypocritical that she then put this out there, and now Justin's trying to defend himself, and every step of the way he's trying to defend himself legally, they're trying to call him an abuser, and this is just a tactic out of the playbook, and it's mind-boggling. I guess I want to start by asking you, legally, is Justin allowed to respond and release these texts and videos to defend himself now that Blake, the New York Times, and so many others have sort of written him off and canceled him?
Well, absolutely. And that's the point I wanted to comment on, was that legal argument that they're making that this is somehow improper to go and defend themselves in the media. And so there is a rule of professional conduct in California. If you ever want to look at it, it's Rule 3.6 about trial publicity. And it's saying that lawyers have a responsibility not to publicize facts in the case, or allegations really in the case, that might prejudice a jury. So we're not supposed to try our case in the press, we're supposed to try it in the courtroom. But we all know that's not the way it works. A lot of these cases settle and they never go to a jury. And also a lot of these lawsuits that we're seeing, I mean, you name it, any of these lawsuits, they look like a press release. They look like a book, actually, and that's legally not required. In federal court and a lot of state courts, we have notice pleading, which just means I am suing you for whatever, employment, discrimination. Here's the relationship that we had, and I was subjective to this abuse, and I want damages. That's all you really need to allege. It's the ultimate facts that you have to state. There's no reason to attach text messages, demand letters, any of this stuff, but that's what her complaint looks like. It's like 50 pages of let me show you every text message that I want to show you, or portions of them, and then at the very bottom get to like why I'm suing. So she started it with basically a press release that was disguised or dressed up as a lawsuit.
As a complaint. It was even a complaint first. She was doing a bunch of sort of sneaky ways to get it out there in the press and protect herself too.
Well, that's right. So in California, before you can sue for an employment violation, you have to get permission from the state or federal government. It's called a right to sue letter because the state has an interest in making sure that employment practices are done correctly and there's no discrimination. So you have to petition them to saying, hey, are you guys going to take the lawsuit on? Many times the state or feds will say no, and they issue a right to sue letter, and then now you can file your private action. So she's using that process, but then, basically leaking all of that to then hide behind this litigation privilege that we have, because it says if you're engaged in making claims in court or petitioning here for these right to sue letters, that you can't be sued for defamation for statements that you reasonably make in contemplation of litigation or during litigation. So she's playing that game. And then when he comes back defensively, saying all of a sudden it's wrong, and that just can't be true.
She started by saying, yeah, his response, the first one was, well, they're just attacking me more. This is a he said, she said is the kind of language that she's putting out there. This is not a feud from creative differences. And it's like, but it is, because the text messages she's posting are her sort of perspective. The other thing that just improved, I know you haven't followed as closely, is they literally were removing text in between text and emojis to sort of make it sound worse. So she was not only releasing these text messages, they were picking and choosing how they were placed in her PR lawsuit. And then sort of claiming, well, when Justin fought back, he's an abuser. This is ridiculous. He's attacking me more. I mean, that's ridiculous, right?
Well, that's right. So in that rule of professional conduct, because this is what I think they're going under, there's an exception in the rule itself that says that if the other side has engaged in pretrial publicity, you, if you're the defendant here, have the right, and the defense counsel has the right to come back and saying, hey, I'm going to set the record straight. Of course we have that right. And for her to claim that it's okay for her to do this, but it's wrong for him to respond to it, really, really shows like, she's not fighting fair. She's not being reasonable. She's being inconsistent. She's trying to keep the truth from coming out, because the thing he leaked or provided, I don't know how you want to say it, was unedited footage. So, at least that it appears to be unedited footage. So it's like, how could that be wrong? So like I say, I think she's way off base legally on it. Looks bad in this view.
So they're threatening to put out everything. They're like, we want to put out all the clips, all the texts, all the exchanges we've had. He feels like at this point he's destroyed publicly, so he wants to put it all out there. This first clip came out, and part of me wonders, was this on purpose to get Blake and Ryan to put the gag order so it looks like, oh, they're afraid? Is this theatrics, you think? Or do you think they really are ready and should just put it all out there if they've threatened to do so? What is your sort of perspective on that?
Well, it's obviously working, it's bothered her enough and Ryan to like complain about it, which is also a PR mistake in my book, because it's like, well, hey, there's unedited footage here, or apparently unedited footage. Like how does she harm by presenting this? Like so obviously she's bothered enough by it that she wants a court to issue a gag order, which it cannot do. Okay. So even under the rules she's going, there's no ability to really go to that extent in a state court action. They have a right to, kind of defend themselves and do some publicity. And
I don't even mean to interrupt, but I want to reiterate that, because she's made so many mistakes. So you're telling me there's no chance she's actually going to get this gag order. So once again, she's putting something out there that she knows isn't going to happen.
Yeah, there's a right to speak. And so, basically, we do see gag orders in cases, typically in criminal cases, because the stakes are so much higher. And that's to protect the criminal defendant, because under the Sixth Amendment in the United States, the defendant has a right to a fair trial. And the prosecution's release of information about the allegations in the criminal complaint can, taint a jury pool. So we will see criminal case protective measures. We'll also see them sometimes in very, very sensitive civil cases. I don't see that here, particularly since she is the one who has gone out there so publicly herself. And so if this was such a sensitive matter that even, she would have done a Jane Doe, she would have never released her text messages. She would have said, I am so embarrassed and I would be harmed if this information came out here. I would be harmed even if I was identified. We've seen that all the time in these kind of cases. So she didn't do anything that. She's full out there with her presentation, so she's exposed. The court really, only under extreme circumstances can stop somebody from speaking in advance. Really what they can do is maybe potentially punish somebody for speaking after the fact. But very rarely stop them. So again, this is like, oh, I'm so hurt. I'm so bothered. Please stop talking about me. And again, in my book, just makes her look worse. And the court really doesn't have the authority to stop him or his lawyer from speaking.
So he can still put all the text messages and everything out. Would you think that's a smart move at this point? To sort of, we're in the public opinion. She took the first shot. He's got nothing to hide. Is that a good move in your mind?
Well, I think, this is playing out in the media more than court. And so to the extent that he can defend himself, set the record straight, that's smart. The thing, though, that he is really taking a risk on is this retaliation claim. So under California and federal law, once an employee or contractor, somebody in this protected position has made a complaint that they have suffered, abuse in the workplace, they have protected status. Even if the underlying complaint isn't true or valid, they have protected status and they can't be retaliated against. And she is alleging retaliation. And here, if he's got to be extremely careful because, if whatever he's doing is viewed as acts of retaliation against her for making the complaint in the first place, then he could suffer some liability. So he's got smart counsel. They'll navigate through that. But that's where he's at risk because of the nature of the allegations that are made against him.
Always appreciate your insight here. Speaking of which, to end on this, the smart counsel, here was the statement. He says, sources connected to JB tell TMZ they believe it's grossly unfair to impose a gag order after Justin has been defamed by the New York Times in an article that they say has cost him 3 jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars. All Justin wants to do, the source says, is release video and text to prove the allegations are false. It's unbelievable that Blake would go on a takedown campaign against Justin and then immediately turn around and say she wants a gag order so that Justin can't defend himself. So they're echoing that. It does seem like that's what's happening. And it's nice to hear that yes, he can respond to these text messages and sort of do it. But as you've pointed out, and you just told me that early on, that is the biggest fear that he's got to be careful of. So we'll see how this all plays out. But man, all I got to say is Blake Lively's team is the worst at PR, like the worst at PR I've ever seen. And to think that Justin could have paid for all this bad press that Blake's getting, she really is delusional. No one can pay for this kind of press. This is all genuine. People are really coming to their senses and not liking the way that Blake and now Ryan are treating this. It's shocking to me how much they've sort of dug themselves deeper and deeper. So we'll keep you posted. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Always make sure to follow him over on Twitter at @CA_divorce. If you want to make sure you follow us, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that thumbs up and leave your comments. What do you think? Are you surprised by this? Are you surprised he's trying to silence him? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll be back with more soon. Thanks for watching.